the director of Neon Cactus. Chris Zuhdi is here to join us. Thank you, Chris. Let's see. I'm going to feature you right here to talk about your film. Your film Neon Cactus is out. Is it out today on video on demand?
It is, yeah. It's transactional on Amazon and Google Play as well at the moment.
Cool. People in the chat, we've got over 600 people watching us live right now on YouTube. Prepare your questions. Neon Cactus, the trailer for Neon Cactus is on our new trailer channel. It's just called Film Threat Trailers. Subscribe to the channel, Film Threat Trailers. You'll get new indie film trailers, all types of trailers every day. We post new trailers every day. Tell us about Neon Cactus.
Yeah, so it's basically kind of a neo-noir. I think I've heard the term previously from somewhere. Who knows? We have all these things hit our collective subconscious, but a term that's been floating around in my mind for 4 or 5 years is Texas noir. Texas noir. So that's something that really sort of resonated with me. I did live in Texas for 14 years. And so Neon Cactus is very much a Texas noir, a neo-noir. And it's just kind of a situation where you've got this Faustian character named Johnny Rocket who owns, of course, a sleazy dive because it's a noir. And he sort of pulls all the strings in this little Texas town. And there's a couple whose marriage is on the rocks, and they both kind of go to this shady character to put a hit on the other, then decide they want to call it off and try and give their marriage another shot. But he's, sort of once activated, he can't be deactivated, and then intrigue sort of ensues from there.
Cool. I like the term that you came up with, a Texas noir. It kind of reminds me of Southern Gothic. I'm sure you're familiar with that term.
Yeah.
Cool. We got some comments and questions in our chat. So let's go to the chat questions. David Glenn asks, "Is it like the last picture show?"
In terms of the setting, I think that's a pretty valid connection. The DNA is kind of there, the roots are similar, but on a genre level, it's quite different just because it's not really a drama so much as kind of a stylized neo-noir. So that's where it would kind of depart, I think, from Last Picture Show. But the small Texas town part certainly is there.
Cool. Hail Chris Zuhdi, says Jamie G. Voltaire Blood. Wait, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Zuhdi, yeah, you nailed it, yeah.
Zuhdi, I got it.
Yeah.
Solomon Thornton asks, Chris, what is the best way a director should work with an actor?
Well, boy, if I had the answer to that, I'd probably be making millions of dollars. I think the most important thing that I found, and I'm still brand new at this, is if you cast the right people in the right role at the right time in their life, generally in my experience, there's not a lot of directing that needs to take place on a major level. I mean, of course, you have to work with them on the scene and get the blocking and the delivery and that sort of thing. But if you really cast the right people, you're really making, in my experience, micro adjustments. And so my advice would really be cast the right person to begin with, and then just let them sort of have free reign. Because if you do cast the right person and you trust them, then you should be there to answer questions. But beyond that, you really shouldn't have to be doing a lot of heavy directing, in my experience.
Well, as an indie film, what were some of the challenges you faced in pre-production to just get the ball rolling with Neon Cactus?
Man, it's just always a nightmare, as you guys well know, with any film of any budget. It's just sort of chaos, and you just hope that it takes shape at the last minute. So this was very much that way. I actually shot the film in my hometown, which is about 30,000 people, and it's in Oklahoma, but it has kind of that small Texas town vibe to it. And so I literally calling guys I went to high school with to help with locations that were now managers and had grown up and were over different facilities and things like that. So the challenge was really just getting all my ducks in a row with locations. I'd say probably was the biggest one.
Cool. More comments and questions here. Jamie G says, Texas Noir, nice. The Nerd Far Away. Now, this sounds like an interesting story. We were talking about Ant-Man earlier.
Oh, yeah.
John Orchard says, is it like American Gothic?
On a superficial level, I'd say it's a similar aesthetic, but It's definitely a departure as well, though. So it's not a one-to-one comparison.
And Zax asks, did you consider shooting in black and white?
For this one, I really didn't. And one of the reasons, going back to my first kind of attempt at Texas noir, was an indie film called Goodnight Charlene that you can find and stream. But one of my biggest kind of intrigues was the Coen Brothers' Blood Simple, and I like the idea of a color noir, which has been done many times by many people through the years. But I like black and white, and I like the black and white noir aesthetic. But there's something very appealing to me about taking noir but doing it in color. That is kind of cool to me. But still using some of the lighting techniques where I love hard light and shadows and all that kind of thing. So
yeah, because here you're really ramping up the color in your film too. And I assume it's more or less to denote tone and mood.
It is, and part of what I like playing on, I do like color very much. There's been a trend in kind of contemporary cinematography, it seems like, to use as little light as possible to light a scene and make it as monochromatic as possible. And in some situations, that's a good choice, but it seems like it's almost become ubiquitous in modern cinema, where the colors are very washed out and the scenes are very, very dark. And so my style in a way is the antithesis to that. But also, I really like the idea of having these bright, saturated colors. And a lot of the scenes you'll hear like an ice cream truck in the background, and just sort of small town neighborhood sounds that are happy, that are juxtaposed against these miserable characters that are and dead end marriages and being pushed to desperate things. And so I do like the contrast of that as well.
Here's the film on the Film Threat website, reviewed by Michael Talbot Haynes, and it got a positive review. So that's always good to hear. Lubitsch Touch Me asks, what classic noirs inspired you the most?
Going back, of course, to the real deep stuff, the Third Man, just about any classic noir you can think of back in the day, Sunset Boulevard, Detour. But moving more contemporaneously, I do like, as I mentioned, the Coen Brothers with Blood Simple, and moving forward, one of my most, I say recent because I'm thinking in terms of film history, but more recent neo-noirs that I have always loved was A Simple Plan by Sam Raimi. And I think that really is, I do like Fargo, but for me, those are kind of mirror images of each other aesthetically, and also in a way, they're almost contemporaneous, I think, within a couple of years of each other. And for my money, I really like A Simple Plan by Sam Raimi. So that's been certainly a very influential kind of neo-noir for me.
Cool. Lubitsch Touch Me also asks, how long did it take from the ideas creation to finished product?
That's a great question. Of course, we all have ideas that are germinating constantly for years, and so it's kind of hard to trace. But this particular one, from the time I sat down to actually write the screenplay to the finished product, was probably about a year and a half, 2 years, which is pretty quick, really.
I was gonna say that's fast.
Yeah.
That's fast. What's your hot take on age when casting a role? Is it always relevant to the right person in the right role? Says the nerd far, far away. Or the nerd far away.
Yeah, and another good question. Of course, age is the biggest thing, as you mentioned in your question, is just casting the right person. So, and because I'm working closely with my casting directors, and I did write the screenplay, so I have kind of that insider look into what I was hoping to accomplish in a particular character from the time I envisioned it and sat down and wrote the character. And so I do have a pretty clear idea of what I want. And if I see someone that is right, then they're right. And I think that's definitely the most important factor.
Lubitsch Touch Me says, I'm a double indemnity guy personally. So
yeah,
there you go.
You can do it. Yeah, absolutely.
And this is a good question to wrap on here. Do you think noir is making a comeback? There's just, last night I actually saw the movie Marlowe with Liam Neeson, which is, I don't know if it's in theaters this weekend, but there was a special screening of it last night. I got to see it. So what are your thoughts on noir making a comeback?
Well, the good thing about noir is it just never really goes away. It kind of goes latent for a while, but it's, so the answer is yeah, I think it's cycling back around. It'll be in a modified form, of course, which is why a lot of times you hear the term neo-noir, and so it'll be in a, with color probably, and But yeah, I do think it's cycling back around, and I think it's gonna be here to stay. I hope.
I would agree with you. I mean, it's just like, look at Blade Runner. Look at Blade Runner 2049. I mean, that's a noir. Look at even video games like Cyberpunk 2077 has so many noir elements. It's influenced by Blade Runner, but that initially that came from movies like The Maltese Falcon, among others. So it's a genre that, you're right. It's not like you could say, people say the Western is dead. No one's ever said the noir is dead ever. It's just evolves in a different way. And I noticed the film got a great review right up on Film Thread from Michael. 8.5. It got 8.5 out of 10. I'm sure it's going to be better than Ant-Man. I'm sure it's going to be better than Ant-Man, which is opening this weekend. But Neon Cactus is now available. It's on all the major video on demand platforms. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. On a transactional basis, then Tubi TV has ordered the film, so they have not given us a release date, but it'll be up on Tubi. And Linda Nelson at Indie Rights is our distributor, and she always does a really great job. So she's kind of keeping that moving forward.
I know Linda. I know her well.
She spoke very highly of you. Yeah, I told her about the interview, and she said, "Oh, great." I mean, she spoke real highly of you. So
she's just one of the good ones in indie film and in distribution that's tough to find. Chris, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Appreciate it. Congrats on the movie, and good luck to you, sir.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.